Alright, mateys, welcome back. Another special edition, the second iteration of the Awesomeness of Fedora 22. First off, I only have one issue the whole time. I'm 2 weeks in, loving Fedora. I only have one issue that comes to mind, and that is it does not at times want to go into the suspend mode. That has a lot to do with the kernel because the updates are coming fast and furiously, and sometimes you have an update to a new kernel, and that kernel, with that kernel, it does not spin well. Then another update comes, and you get an updated kernel, and it does work. And so I'm not entirely sure completely if it's the kernel or not, but I've got to find some way to nail it down. Those updates come pretty fast. It's kind of like Arch updates. I mean, every day or two, there's a bunch of updates. So I'm used to it. I like it. So I wanted to really talk about some of the other features that we didn't get into, and the crazy amount of security that goes into Fedora. Now, this is the security features matrix, right? And this gives you like the whole thing, like whether or not certain security features are implemented. Um, and so whether it's SE Linux or firewall, signed updates, going down the list. Let's see here. What was I looking for? Let's see. Let's go down the list here. Ah, there it is. Tamper-resistant logs. This is very cool because, of course, people get hacked every day. As far as Windows, Linux, anything else in the world. But this is cool. They're implementing this where it says when a system gets attacked, attackers might tamper with the logs in the system that's being attacked. This can prevent that by using FSS forward secure sealing, which is implemented in systemd journal. Binary logs are maintained by systemd are sealed at certain time intervals. Sealing is a cryptographic operation on the log so that any tampering of the log can be detected, though an attacker can completely remove entire logs, but this will get noticed by the administrator too. FSS is based on forward secure pseudo-random generator. So, you get the sealing key and you got the verification key, and it will seal logs every 15 minutes by default. And of course, you could change this. Seal logs like after every minute. And so, not only will you be made known that your logs are being deleted, but you'll know if they've been changed or not. And so this is very nice. But let me get back to the tippy top here. Now, a lot of these I haven't even gone into and really seen everything that it does, but there's a lot of things I see here that I remember and I've used before. Of course, eCryptFS. I've messed around with SE Linux here and there, but not much. But a lot goes into Fedora, and then you go over to the whole feature set. I guess the change set of Fedora. There's a lot going on in here. Elasticsearch, they're using GCC 5. They're using Python 3. Of course, the whole big change to DMF over standard yum. Different changes in boot managing and Perl and everything else, and some of the things that are added or accepted, different proposals, blind editions. And so if you're a big hardcore Fedora user and you want to see what's going on in your latest editions, see what has changed from time to time, that's a good page where you can see how things are going along. And so I was talking about DNF pretty much in the last episode where we were talking about how great DNF is and how there's a lot of features in there that I've always wanted in a package manager. Let's see here. DNF. What's no? Undo. I forget the damn link to the document, so I'm searching. That's exactly what I was looking for. Okay. Undo. Okay. these two right here, I really want to talk about. Very cool. Very awesome. DNF history rollback. Undo all transactions performed after the specific transaction. Let's say you want to say, okay, things got pretty bad with a particular update. Let me just roll back, let's say 4 or 5 updates. And you can do that. Now, I tried to roll back an update, and it let me know that I was using a kernel, a kernel that was booted, that it would roll back, and so that couldn't happen. And so what I could do is I could boot into a different kernel and do that rollback, and it will roll back everything. And of course, you can do a DNF history undo. Perform the opposite operation to all operations performed in these specific transactions. If it is not possible to undo any operation to the current state of the RPMDB, do not undo any operation. And so it's not going to break things. And so it does some sort of, I guess you could say, sanity checks, security checks, and make sure there's going to be no breakage once it starts doing what it does. And it told me, that I could not roll back that transaction because I'm using a kernel that it's going to get rid of. And so, hey, that's pretty straightforward. I can understand that. And so, I mean, DNF is just awesome. I'm really surprised how mature DNF is. I had heard about it in a bit of a news blurb about a year ago. They were talking about it, but really, this is just excellent. Really, really excellent, and really, really mature. And it should be just even awesomer, if that's even a word. It's probably not a word. I'm joking, but it should be really great in the near future when they add on even more features. But everything makes sense. The commands are very easy to use, and they're sort of straightforward. There's no crazy, I guess you could say, no crazy commands where it doesn't make sense. Every now and then on Linux, people go crazy on commands, where they make no sense at all, and you just have to remember them. Don't try to make sense out of that command. It makes no sense. Just remember that command and just keep using it. Well, it makes sense. You're going into the DNF history mode, or you're going into search, or you let's say you want to recycle the cache, you want to recycle the metadata. I mean, it's all pretty much, language that you can sort of, sink your teeth into. That's very nice. And back to the whole security thing, I did a quick little check on the security, a very, very shallow check on the security by a great application called Linus. And OpenSUSE by default gets like 90 something percentage in the level of security. This got 67 percentile, and I believe I disabled firewall D, and so that probably took off some points there because there's no firewall. I have another firewall I use when I'm connected to different networks, so there was no need for me to use firewall D. So all in all, Fedora is awesome. I think the whole stigma of RPM distributions is coming to an end. While there still is some bit of dependency problems, like zero dependency problems has crept up with me using Fedora. They crept up in OpenSUSE a lot, especially when I was using different repos like Pacman. Let's say I want to use MPV, play certain videos, or use that with YouTube DL. Okay, well, you're using this particular codec, and this codec has not been updated, and you need to update this to do that, and the other. I had zero problems with that. Zero RPM dependency problems in Fedora, and I've installed a lot of packages. So, right now, out of the box, I've done nothing as far as security on Fedora besides disabling the firewall. And so I got a 67, of course, which is above average. And I disabled the firewall, in which that probably would have added some points there. So, of course, it would probably been the 70% percentile. So, not bad at all, especially for a distribution. Yeah, you would think that all the security elements that go into Fedora would be a little more, But who knows? I'm also using. This came with a, I guess you could say, a not so up to date version of it. It says right here the current version is 164, but the latest version is 200. So we don't know. Now I've done this test on Arch, although I do not remember what percentile it was. It was not high. So needless to say that a lot goes into Fedora, and it's a very easy to use distribution. And I really had no clue about Fedora and in general the company Red Hat. Of course, I'd known about Red Hat for a long time, but I didn't know that Fedora was pretty much like the test bed for Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And so they sort of implement the features and sort of see how they develop and evolve, and to the point where it's good for them and it's feasible for them to use in Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And so when you're using Fedora, you're sort of like you say. I guess you're on the bleeding edge, and you get to see everything that's going to be in Red Hat in the future. And some things may not be in Red Hat. Sometimes they don't implement those things until they have them down perfectly. And so, I guess this is a good chance, especially if you're using Red Hat also in the sort of server sphere. So it's good if you're using Fedora as a test bed, and you want to see what's going to happen in the long term. So as for me, I don't really use Red Hat, but I like bleeding edge software, and I like to have a very, very, very up to date kernel. I don't want to be on 3 point whatever, 3.16 or whatever the most stable is these days. I want to be right there, nuts on the bandsaw, bleeding edge, you know, live or die or fail, and so I like that. That's kind of my style. I had a lot of trouble with, as I said in the first episode of the Awesomeness of Fedora 22, a lot of trouble with OpenSUSE Tumbleweed. It was just a complete clusterfuck. I was shocked how bad it was, and I had such high hopes. I had so much trouble. I had to get the hell off of it. I'm used to using Arch and every now and then having to roll back a package or fix some things. I'm used to that. That's way within my realm of fixing stuff. But when there's so many different things broken all at one time, and let's say your window manager is not loading, and there's all kind of troubles. You don't want to have to fix everything. You can fix a few things. You could do a few patches to fix some stuff, when you're out there on the bleeding edge, balls to the bandsaw. But honestly, you don't want to fix everything. You don't have to worry and lose sleep at night. Oh God, what's gonna break tomorrow? You don't. And I haven't had that problem at all on Fedora. And I've done a lot of updates on Fedora. Let's see here, DMF history. Long password. Did I get it right? No, of course not. Okay. Got a lot going on here. Actually, is this everything? I'm not entirely sure. But I believe it is. Yeah, it looks like it is. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much everything I installed. I've had a bunch of updates, and I've been installing things. I've been adding repos. I've had zero breakage. Just the one issue with the suspend, and that's a minor issue. I mean, I could turn it off, but I'm greedy. I like having the ability to put it in low power mode and then kick it back on and get back to whatever it is I was doing beforehand. I like that. I like that a lot. So that just works for me. So I got to find a way to fix that. But maybe I'll just go hang out in the Fedora forums and see what options they have for that, because I'm sure I'm not the first person to come across that issue. But as I said, I'm really loving Fedora. I'm on the edge of abandoning OpenSUSE for all times. Now I've got like a bunch of machines OpenSUSE on, which I'm looking at right now, and am I gonna throw Fedora on all of them? I don't know, but I really like it, and I was really impressed. And there was so much negative feedback on every Fedora release I can remember. Now, I did listen to a lot of Linux Action Show where they were trashing Fedora, every release. And I did see a lot of stuff on blogs about, things are not working well in Fedora. But generally, Fedora 22's release, I didn't hear much negativity. I heard a lot of good things all around. And I keep up with Linux news uh, almost to, I guess you could say, a fault, almost to an extreme. So, honestly, honestly, it's a great release, and I like it. I can almost say I love it. I've had no problems with it, and you should check it out too. Now, um, if I were you, and you're gonna go check out Fedora, be sure to check out some tutorials on their installer Anaconda. Anaconda. It is not like your, I guess you could say, stereotypical Ubuntu installer where everything's like, step one, step two, step three, step four. They put things in front of you, like four or five things, and then you go do them step by step, and then it does it all. But it's a little, I guess you could say, not so uniform, not so standard, but it's easy to use. It's just a little different. OpenSUSE installer is not standard either. It's kind of clunky also, but honestly, I think the Fedora installer is better than the OpenSUSE installer. The OpenSUSE installer makes too many decisions for you, and then you have to go and change that and undo that kind of stuff. Like, no, I don't want any swap, and no, I don't want you to wipe out the drive, or no, I don't want you to suck up 30 megs to try to install it. I mean, it makes some mistakes, and so the Anaconda installer, while I haven't seen anything totally, broken in there, it's just not something that you're used to. But if you're used to the Linux world, I mean, I came up in the earlier days of Linux where Gentoo and Slackware was a damned nightmare to install. So I'm used to it. I've got the pain, I've got the scars, I've got the coffee mug and the T-shirt, and so I've been there and I can handle it. But for those of you who are new Linux users, go check out guides to the installer and just see what you're going to be dealing with and just jump on it. I love it. And if you like new kernels and you like new packages, give it a spin. And if I have any other updates or anything I want to discuss about it, it'll be in a later episode. So, go out there and install it. Enjoy.